An investigation will be launched into the death of a soldier from Victoria who was killed during a training exercise in Alberta. Private Stephen Allen was training to become an infantryman at the Canadian Forces base in Wainwright, just outside of Edmonton. The 20-year-old died from injuries he suffered during a fall after a collapse at a lookout tower. A second soldier was not seriously hurt. Allen joined the military last fall and completed his basic training course earlier this year. Students are returning to class at a Surrey high school this morning following an extreme case of violence between two teenagers on Thursday afternoon. It happened during shop class at Princess Margaret Secondary when one grade 12 student was accused of stabbing another. The suspect took off from the school but was later arrested after surrendering to police. The victim was stabbed several times and was taken to hospital with significant injuries.
The school immediately enacted their safety protocols and locked the school down until it was determined to be safe. And it was about 20 minutes when they were allowing the students to move about and actually leave the school. That was the end of the school day.
Still not clear what led to the altercation, but police believe it was an isolated incident between the two boys. Meanwhile, some tense moments near a school in West Vancouver. Officers searched for two loaded handguns after they were dumped near West Bay Elementary on Wednesday night. They were left there by a distraught man who knocked on the door of a home asking the residents to call police. The man couldn't remember where he dumped the guns, though. Eventually, they were found after the man was arrested under the Mental Health Act. Investigators with the Transportation Safety Board are at Edmonton's airport this morning after an Air Canada plane made an emergency landing last night. At least 3 people were taken to hospital with minor injuries after the aircraft landed, with sparks trailing behind it. The plane had taken off from Calgary for a flight to Grand Prairie with 75 passengers and crew. There are reports the aircraft blew a tire during takeoff. Trailers carrying around 40,000 kilograms of highly explosive ammonium nitrate have been hauled away from the scene of a truck fire near Kamloops. Flames broke out yesterday afternoon on the Trans-Canada Highway. RCMP say the fire started dying down by the early evening and had not spread to the trailers. The highway has since reopened to traffic. The mayoralty race in Vancouver is moving from the political soapbox into the courtroom. Mayor Gregor Robertson and incumbent councillor Jeff Meggs have launched a defamation lawsuit against former journalist Kirk Lapointe, who hopes to take the city's top job in the November 15th civic election. They claim Lapointe and the Nonpartisan Association have been running ads that contain false and defamatory words, and they want a retraction, damages, and the ads pulled from TV and radio. Meantime, the NPA's former president is now lending his support to Vision Vancouver. Michael Davis has said the Nonpartisan Association has become a party of narrow, angry people.
Today, Michael and I are encouraging other previous NPA voters to take a look at our agenda and consider casting a vote for the Progressive Centre. It has become clear that the once progressive NPA has been co-opted by hard right-wing elements and no longer represents the values of Vancouver residents.
Independent candidate Bob Casting has decided to drop out of the Vancouver mayoral race to back Kirk Lapointe. He says the move comes as he realizes he will not be able to attract widespread support. Casting says Lapointe did not approach him. He made this move on his own. Residents concerned about planned redevelopments in Vancouver are sounding the alarm ahead of the upcoming civic election. 70 families living in this affordable townhouse community in Marpole are fighting to save their low-cost housing. Residents say the plan is to dig a space for underground parking for 2 skyscrapers and a 7-story building for market rentals. The proposal hasn't gone to council yet, but the city has already told them saving the units from demolition is not an option.
It's a huge issue. Everybody's talking about the housing crisis in Vancouver, and all parties talk about the difficulty to get developers to build affordable housing. Well, you know, the obvious first step is you preserve the affordable housing that you have.
Meantime, other residents are upset about plans to build a 26-floor condo tower at West Georgia and Cardero Streets. They say the spot rezoning is 4 times the permitted density. And while there's retail and office space, residents say there's no provision for rental or affordable housing.
For changes like this to happen with a bad process like this are very unfair for the neighborhood.
Well, the recent weather hasn't just taken its toll on North Vancouver homes, but at one of the region's most popular recreation spots. All of that rain and wind have led to the closure of the Grouse Grind until further notice. There's no guarantee it'll reopen before the annual winter shutdown. Hikers are hoping to get a few more climbs in.
They came all the way from Surrey, and there was no email saying that it was closed. So I guess I'm going to go do the BCMC instead. So it would have been nice if they'd give us a little bit of notice. Love doing the grind.
Well, have you always wanted to own a house in Vancouver but never thought you could afford one? Well, think again. How does a 4-bedroom character home in Dunbar sound for the price of just $1? The Craigslist posting went up this week and has been getting a lot of attention. However, there is a catch, and it's a pretty big one. The property is being redeveloped, so you'll have to move the house yourself.
The house has fantastic street appeal. It does need some work on the inside. It's old. It's totally livable. It was lived in until about a couple of weeks ago. It's a great renovation project. My client is interested in redeveloping this lot. And we just thought that somebody could possibly give this house a second life.
A new report says homeless people have about half the life expectancy of an average British Columbian and more than double the number of accidental deaths. The report by the street magazine Megaphone says at least 281 homeless people died between 2006 and 2013, with the average age between 40 and 49 years. But the total number is probably much higher because of limited data from the BC Coroner Service.
Canada is still the only G8 country without a national housing plan, and that's unacceptable. We also know that homelessness is incredibly expensive, and that by building homes and getting people inside, we can save money and we can save lives.
About a quarter of the homeless deaths listed in this report were in Vancouver and about 1/3 in Metro Vancouver. It's estimated there are as many as 15,000 homeless people living in BC. Vancouver sex trade workers are not happy with Bill C-36. In fact, they think Ottawa's new laws will make their lives and those of their clients a lot more difficult. Concealing their identities, workers spoke about the problems the revamped laws are going to cause. The bill criminalizes purchasing sex and advertising services. Sex workers say that's a crucial form of communication that helps them screen clients, most of whom are kind and respectful.
My clients range from 25 to 85 years old. Many see me once or twice, and some have been supporting me for 5 or 10 years. They are mostly kind, generous people who have a stressful problem to solve. I provide them a service. I do not sell my body. My clients are respectful members of society. They are not criminals.
Last year, the Supreme Court of Canada struck down prostitution laws. The top court deemed them unconstitutional because they made sex work more dangerous. The flu season has started early, but Vancouver health officials think they've caught up onto that demand. Vancouver Coastal Health distributed more than 100,000 flu vaccines in the last major shipment to providers. It's hoped doctors, pharmacies, and clinics are now fully stocked up. A long, powerful flu season last year led to shortages in some areas.
We look forward to running out of influenza vaccine. It means that there's high demand for the vaccine out there, and that's obviously good news for us. We do want people to be protected. We do want people to go to their providers and seek vaccine.
Flu shots are free for children up to 5 years old, seniors 65 and older, pregnant women, First Nations people, and those with chronic illnesses. Many employers also pay for vaccinations for their employees. After last month's attacks on Parliament Hill, security is being stepped up in BC's seat of power. An all-party legislative committee has agreed to a new security plan by the Sergeant at Arms. It includes giving legislature security guards handguns and training to use them. That goes for 45 out of 70 guards with special constable status. The guards will also get bulletproof vests, and the public will go through airport-style screening when entering the building.
The tragedy in Ottawa certainly acted to prompt additional attention. The equipment that's being installed, the airport-like security equipment that's being installed downstairs at the Mowat entrance had been purchased previously, and in the aftermath of the incident in Ottawa, the decision has been made to proceed. Staff and MLAs will also get some new security training in the event of an emergency.
Home Depot is advising customers that hackers have stolen about 53 million email addresses. That includes 64,000 email addresses in Canada. The company says the file did not contain passwords or personal information, but it is warning customers to be on guard against phishing scams. All customers affected are being notified.